Hello, collectors. So I saw this post, that's about 8 days old on the, or yeah, about 8 days old on the forum here, and I thought I'll go over it and why I pretty much strongly agree with it. Thank you, Deceptive Frost, for this post. Let's get on to, I guess, the post here in general. So as the Halloween event passes, people have been discussing about whether and the new stadium, I'm just going to call it that because I can't pronounce it, but will release in 2021 as promised. One of the arguments that it will not release in 2021 is due to the Christmas event that is approaching soon. Why are events so problematic now, in contrast of its previous counterparts that were well received, such as the first anniversary event, which was the Get Glow event, and the 2020 Christmas event? Take note that this is all my opinion, and you can still have your own. The problem of events. They are becoming more frequent, which I strongly agree with. We had the Meteor event, we had the Valentine's Day event, we didn't really need an anniversary event, but people liked it, and it wasn't that bad of a thing. The problem with events is that they're becoming more and more frequent, which, though I am not one to whine about update delays, given that many games I've played, such as Tower Defense Simulator, Tower Battles, and Beast Form Simulator, are all used to update delays, certainly slows down development process. Surely such a detailed place such as the Unfair, which is the most recent event, would take a great deal of time and effort to build and script. Given that there are now 4 events this year, including the yet to be released Christmas event, it's not surprising to see people expressing their thoughts that the devs are prioritizing events over story content. I'm trying to remember what are the other events this year. Valentine, Halloween, Meteor, and maybe the weekend event. I don't think that counts though. I'm trying to remember what the other event was, but I can't remember. After all, the only major permanent updates this entire year were the weather, which is the rain and the wind, Very, Bob's Pond, which is just now being revived thanks to Armenti wanting, or I think it was Armenti offering like $100, along with what's his name? Another Loomian Legacy YouTuber. Yeah, Bob's Pond and Oxy Drake, which is not a lot at all. So basically, weather, which only happens a couple hours a day, and you're not even guaranteed to get like rain in a day. You can only run into like an extra Loomian, and you can run into secret abilities, but you'd rather just rally them because you'll run into more rallies than in the wild. Very, which is okay. I mean, it's well received. I like how there's an evolution now, but they could have just waited for another route for that. Bob's Pond, which I mean, I don't know why it wasn't released with Route 8. Though it's cool. I made a video about it being like one of the most calming spots in Lumen Legacy, but ultimately it's not enough of an update in Oxy Drake, which again, I don't know why they couldn't just made him like a if there's a cave, he could have been like one of the cave Lumians, but I don't know. And while they do generate some hype for some time, they do not retain a high player base for too long. I agree. There's people who joined for Oxy Drake, then they left. Meanwhile, new areas are built and scripted for events, and new layers are added in these events constantly, an effort that could have been placed into developing the city. The Valentine and Meteor events are practically uncalled for. After all, did anyone really complain about 2 less events in 2019 and 2020, where the only few events were Halloween and Christmas and an anniversary event in 2020? When it was announced that no event was going to happen for this year's anniversary, people weren't that upset, showing that while events are fun, there's not a constant demand for the players. I am honestly fine if there were only 2 events per year, those being Halloween and Christmas. Overall, the sentiment that the devs are over prioritizing events is starting to make events more unpopular, and that is going to make us have a really bad record of not even be able to finish one milestone on the projected development map in a year. And while yes, you can definitely have delays in development time, one of my favorite games released this year was Cyberpunk 2077. You guys seen how much that game's been delayed? It's crazy. But ultimately, if you need to delay a game, you have to. But when it's something like this, where you get so little for a game that's already released, it's crazy. Especially when we're getting so much events. Like Unfair had to take a lot of time to develop, but the events are getting harder for free to plays and payers once their boosts run out. Remember the simpler days when there were only event Lumians? Me too. I've always felt that introducing roaming reskins and event roamings were a bad idea, since it had made hunting significantly harder and more tedious. Back then, to hunt, one only needed to activate their Gleam boost to start looking for a Grinch and maybe even a Gleam event Gecko. But now, one must activate both roaming and Gleam boost if you really wanted to get something good and rare, which is something I agree with. There shouldn't be event legendaries. Now that they're here, they should be re-releasing for every single event. I feel breaking that will bring some unpopularity with some players, but it should have just stayed the reskins. That's my personal opinion. Is the unfair event when I made that live stream, it was pretty cool, sick, but ultimately the reason why I didn't make any other videos on it really was just because it's not as fun I'd rather have just done normal stuff like 2019, where you can hell just run around the map for a bunch of presents and try to get a Santa or something. Um, but yeah, something that is really boost burning. With 50 tokens back in the day, players could hunt for 12.5 hours of just Gleam boost. Now they can only hunt a measly 5 hours with the same amount. And I don't know at the top of my head what 50 tokens are, but I think that's probably around 5 Robux, judging about with 50 tokens. That's gonna be my guess. Given that the rare Loomians in current events are all roamings now, with a total of 3 event roamings for the Halloween update, as a hunter, I feel really stressed out that I can't collect all 3 of their Gleam forms. Furthermore, these roamings are getting harder to find for free to plays. I mean, 1 in 3,072 chance and 1 in 6,144 chance are very motivating numbers, especially if that number can be reduced to 138 and 1768 through paying, which leads some free to play players to start thinking that the game is pay to win. These numbers also mean that once your boosts run out, it's a huge motivation to continue hunting. Same thing for me, I ran out of boosts, I pretty much stopped hunting, which I probably should have kept going. But this is why events such as the recent Halloween event has barely reached 10k, or barely breached 10k concurrent players after week, unlike the past events where 2020 Halloween and Christmas events. 1 in 2048 isn't bad for odds, but 1 in 6,144 is certainly enough to make some give up on hunting. And hunting is a major, if not the main appeal behind events. I agree. You want to get the event stuff. A good model for future events could be the Cosmere 2019 and Get Glow anniversary events, where everyone has an equal playing field. It's just one, with the option to find rarer variants of the event Loomians being easier to sustain too. The event minigames to be a fun break from hunting, but it's not really the case anymore. I love the 2020 Christmas event minigame. It's interactive and fun, even if you got a coal in your box after swapping your original one that contained the key. But now, the event minigames are becoming more and more self-centered. The corn maze is simply a test of luck and turning at the right corners. You could just do the hug right strategy. I think it's the most popular video, but you have to get lucky in a sense that you don't run into a nevermare. But running right will always lead you to the end, just because you'll never cross an area that you've already traveled and you eventually reach the end just through trial and error. You just gotta hope that there's no nevermare in the area. Um, a sweet retreat minigame could be soloed by oneself, and even with players, it's mostly just stick to yourself and do your own job kind of thing. The Jolly Gift Exchange is an excellent model for future minigames, in my opinion, being interactive and requires strategic thinking rather than just blindly running around or just clicking the same buttons for hours. The minigame should provide a break for those who are tired from hunting, in my opinion. What can be done to fix this? To sum up what he's mentioned up above, these are underlying problems with events currently. Lack of motivation to continue with an event, even for payers once their boosts run out. This is due to high odds. To fix this, basically do something like Get Glow or Cosmere event can be implemented where everyone can find the exclusives equally. I agree. There should have only been one. I like Protagon and I like Halloween Ikazune. I like both of them, and I also like Metronet. But they should only had one and save the other one for next year. Cause hell, they even not got all the script ready, right? They can just save it for next year, and that saves a little bit of time at least designing a new model. Though then again, that design time took up time for Athlon. I think that's how you pronounce it. Frequency of events. While I understand that devs are trying to give something to occupy us, that something could be very well hindered development for Anthelon. Again, I agree. If anything, they should be focusing on, yes, keep Halloween, keep Christmas. That's a set thing. That should be a tradition, right? But they should put time into something new for the players that can give them something to do. So even if it's something as small as this will require, I would probably get a second dev. And while that will, I understand why they only have one. They can train a dev to work with the systems, and two, I know training a dev will take time away from dev time, but obviously two people are faster than one, and they can have one dude just focus on smaller stuff for like mini games and stuff that we can do. So like, what if you can go to New Sushi Stick, and instead of just having to go there to get sushi to get the guard to use the bathroom, you can buy sushi for your Lumians and they become happier. That's like, what if that's a way to increase your happiness? It has use. What about like creating like a Lumian system, kind of like what's it called? You can just dress up your Lumians. I'm just gonna say it like that. You can dress up Lumians. That way, developers can give us money to spend our Lumi coins on. Because I had like 300,000 of Lumi coins. And not only that, but two, they can have like Robux items or something. That gives the devs money. Some people, like myself, I wouldn't mind spending Robux for my Trumbull. Um, that's something they can do. Of course, have Lumi coin options, but maybe have some like special designs that are Robux or something like that. Like limited design stuff. Once I have to move my cat. Come on, Gunner. Next up, okay, so that's very well handled. I suggest less events in a year, with the number being decided by the community through polls. Something I'm sure the community manager can carry out. Now that's kind of iffy, right? Because you can't just say, okay, we're maybe going to work on an event, so maybe get near the finishing point of what you're working on, so that way you can easily hop back in it to work on an event. Which I also think too. Sorry, button again. But they should have a second dev, right? And I know it would take time to learn how to work with the system, obviously, because every developer's code is different. But maybe have a second dev work on events only, right? T Brad works only on like the story, right? And you have the second dev working only on events. Or like I said, he can be also working on like small stuff like that new sushi stick idea or dressing up Loomians, and that way T Bradham still gets to work on like the main part of the game, and the second dev doesn't have as much, I guess, impact on the game and the game code besides the events, which I still think should be done by the second dev, just so we don't lose dev time besides building time on events, because building obviously takes a lot less time than coding. But I can see why they only run one mod, but they should really, in my opinion, get a second mod who should that T Bradham should train to use the code. Let's see here. The developers should also be more open about communication. I agree. As many suspecting that the new city be delayed because of events. Mini games are getting more monotone, to the extent where they're almost like hunting, running around in a circle versus running around blindly to find the exit. Mini games should be designed to be more strategic in mind, so it wouldn't be as monotone and can vary and change accordingly. So these are his thoughts about the state of events. Civil discussions are allowed. Uh, I'm not afraid to say 3 boost tokens that can get you out of 3 boost tokens. Okay, I'm not going to go through the comments because I might do that on a separate video. Or might not touch it at all. But that's pretty much everything I had to say. One of my moderators for the Discord server, link down below, it's also made a great little chain. So I'm gonna go through that one and basically comment on my opinions compared to hers. And her post is about this post, by the way. Uh, yeah, we'll see what she thinks, and I'll let you know what I think about it. And let's get over to that side. So here is Protoness's notebook, basically, where one of my moderators for the Discord just writes down stuff that they think about, usually Loomian Legacy. But here you can see the post I made up here. Or the post I sent her and then she sent here, and she basically goes with her opinion. I agree with OP overall, that they should focus more on main story content other than event. For OP's point 2 and 3, I have some ideas to address their points, but I want to focus on the comments first. Here's one of the comments being, sorry, I kind of like that events happen so often now because it introduces cool reskins and all that. Plus, it makes LL better in my opinion, since people will be bored of encountering the same Loomians over and over and over again. I think maybe the developers shouldn't put too much effort into the events, maybe like 2 reskins in a small map or something. I know it slows down the time it takes for updates to come out, but I would rather have cool events every few months and wait an extra long time for updates than just waiting for a smaller period of time for updates to come out and get barely any events a year. So she says that their point is that with the frequent event updates, we can play Loomian Legacy more often because the events introduce new content and that it offers us things to do while they wait on the main, or while they work on the main content updates. Even though working on the update, sorry, even though working on the event updates delays the main content updates, they prefer this over waiting of the main content in exchange for less events. My response is that these events usually last around 3 weeks, but that the content itself is repetitive, which doesn't have to be a bad thing. In my opinion, is not engaging after the first week, which is, again, like I said, after like the first week, I got bored and pretty much quit the Halloween event. I like collecting the reskins, but the main way you get them is by running through circles in grass and hope you encounter it through encounter rates like 1 in 6,000 or 1 in 3,000. Usually something like that takes days for me to find if I'm not spending any Lumi boosts, and that gets really boring. And obviously, if you have something like schooling or college or work, you can't really just spend all your time just wasting away at trying to get a reskin. Which some of these odds without paying up, which some people don't want to pay up or some people can't pay up, gets quite daunting. Which I think it should just be like the old version, where it's like what was it, like 1 in 1,000, 2,000, something like that. The minigames are a lot more valuable to me time-wise than running around and not finding the Loomians I want because I'm so tired of running through the grass. So I'd like allow to focus more on the mini games and have them be more engaging, so that I wouldn't mind the gameplay loop. I think the way they did in the Sweet Retreat was a step in the right direction in terms of hunting. There were no event roaming reskins, and Val Fan Cub was easy to find. Nimue isn't so bad if you only care about getting it and not the Gleam SA certain personality. Though the minigame portion with the cake factory wasn't engaging, all you can do is select the right option to get more currency or troll around, which makes other players mad. I like minigames that are more interactive and where you have to think about a strategy to adapt to it how you adapt it to how you play. Xmas 2020's minigames would come to mind. Focusing back on the original post, this is what they said in their summary, with their 3 points I mentioned. One, if Loomian Legacy comes up with more engaging events, this should be a funner way of spending your time. Otherwise, I'm dipping after the first week and doing other stuff that's worth my time rather than working away in the fields. Pretty much what I said, and I was thinking about it too. With the event minigames, there has to be some sort of way they can basically transfer over at least most of the code to do something in the overworld. Maybe throw down a building at like the tiny village. I forgot its name. The tiny village on Route 4. What if you throw a building in there and there's like a mini game or something? What if it's like the you swap items around or something like that? But instead it's like a way to get items you can play like once a day, or you can put Lumi coins to play, and you just swap around items and stuff, and then you get that item to keep, whether it's like a thunder fruit or a power fruit or something like that. So instead of just sitting around, there's at least something else to do, and you can do maybe like one free, and then you can pay the rest, one free per day, obviously. And that's something that players can do. And if there's not enough players, just do AI like they did in Sweet Retreat, or not Sweet Retreat, sorry, Xmas. Two, it is completely up to the devs to decide whether their efforts should remain on pushing out frequent events or working on main content. However, it is also my choice whether or not to spend time in these events. If it is not worth it, then it gives them the message that what they're doing is not maintaining their player base, and I'm sure others may feel this way as well. I have some ideas on how they can change up the minigames and events. Give me a bit to figure out how to put it in words. What if the events try to stray away from the traditional ways of spending hours hunting for Loomians, which is walking through grass? We introduce a temporary currency. Let's say a placeholder name is festival tokens. These tokens disappear after the event ends. These are going to be your free to play or free to pay Lumi boost. You get them through buying them through an event shop for a somewhat expensive amount of currency, so like Lumi coins. And they're not as powerful as Lumi boost tokens, but they can be really helpful for finding the event Lumians that have low encounter rates. You decide if spending some time with the mini games and buying festival tokens is more productive than purely hunting in the grass and sticking to default rates. And then when you open the Lumi Boost tab, there's an option used to the festival tokens. The main option of buying Lumi Boost is still there, but the option to grind for the boost is opened up, free to play. If you're going to have unfair encounter rates, give us something to try to balance things out. For the mini games themselves, how about introduce new mechanics to the battle system? We only battle the softer settable roaming in events so far, so that's mainly there just to catch the Loomian. But how about actual battles with event NPCs? Like have an event story where you can battle the Santa or the Grinch, and they have new mechanics in the battle to the point where they're really different than a typical battle. So maybe Santa can, I don't know, swat Pokemons or something, Loomians, whatever. Um, they say you're fighting Santa in a workshop, and his helpers will debuff him or buff him slash debuff you. Change Loomian typings, make you switch out into a different Loomian, give you a new status effect every turn, or you're helping Santa test out his new toy Loomians in battle, and you want people to use your regular team. You're instead working on completely new Loomians that he let you borrow, or have the toy Loomians that you borrow from Santa to do puzzles that the Grinch put out and try to sabotage the event. There's potential to have toy Loomian tower defense, or you can help Santa deliver presents and you can give you stuff for helping him, or you can have a mini game where people in a field with randomly generated garbage compete to see who can build the sturdiest snowman with the given amount of time. Just gather up snowballs, and after the timer ends, you can spend time to throw things at other people's snowmen. Whoever snowman takes the least amount of damage rewarded the most. The snowman one doesn't really work. That could be its own game, actually. But overall, there's plenty of stuff that they can do. They just don't do it. And then finally, okay, this might be a boring idea, but Loomian board games, something like Candyland or Monopoly in the event, but made to fit Xmas. Snowboard racing, which I think they should just do like Loomian racing. Basically, add some stats for the Loomians, right? So basically, like your speed stat. Well, that'll be like your straight line speed, and then some other stats I'll maybe like change, like maybe high attack Loomians. Well, when they hit a Loomian, they stun them for longer, or like when they use like I don't know, if we're doing like a snowboard race, they can like throw snow at a Loomian if you hit them. The stronger, the higher the attack stat, like the longer the Loomian's stunned, and that way it can be like a cool snowboard race. And then So the option about doing an event and simply just give free handouts and let people enjoy their holiday. My opinion, like I said, is just Halloween Ragoon or Halloween Sluggling Salshi was fine. Xmas Ragoon was fine. We should just stick to that. Cosmere event was fine, even though it should have just been like a Halloween event or something. But that's pretty much everything that there is. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you guys leave a like, comment what you think, join the Discord below, and see you guys next video. Peace.